Throughout the summer of 1943, the air around Kursk in southwest Russia was filled with the sound of the Su-122 self-propelled howitzer, marking its presence in the largest tank battle in history. This Soviet innovation, equipped with a potent 122mm cannon mounted on the reliable T-34 tank chassis, had a clear objective in its sights: Captain von Villebois and his 10th Company of the Großdeutschland Panzer Regiment. They held their position in the formidable Tiger I tanks, known for their size, power, and heavy armor, but they were not prepared for the challenge posed by the Su-122. As the Soviet crew targeted at Tiger I, they unleashed a barrage from the Su-122's cannon. The precision and power of the 122mm shells penetrated the Tiger's armor, disrupting its operations and compromising its structure. The attack resulted in significant damage. The Tiger's electrical firing mechanism failed, its vision block shattered and dislodged, and its armor was torn open by the relentless assault. By the end of the engagement, the Su-122 had struck the Tiger 8 times, leaving it incapacitated, with Captain von Villebois fighting for survival. The once dominant Tiger I was left with a gaping hole in its hull, rendering it a smoldering wreck beyond repair. Since the Germans began their grueling struggle with the Red Army by initiating Operation Barbarossa in June 1941, the Soviet High Command had been captivated by the battlefield prowess of the enemy's Sturmgeschütz III assault gun, which had wreaked havoc on their defenses from Kharkov to Stalingrad. Impressed by the weapon's performance, they began exploring the possibilities of developing their own version. They soon discovered that the turretless design not only significantly reduced production costs, but also allowed for a more spacious fighting compartment, accommodating larger, more potent weaponry on the same chassis. What's more, removing the turret also meant that the vehicle's frontal armor could be increased. By April 1942, the call was out to Soviet design bureaus to use existing weaponry to craft an array of assault guns to serve distinct purposes. Vehicles with 76mm ZIS-3 divisional field guns and 122mm M30 howitzers could be used for infantry support, while those with potent 152mm ML-20 howitzers were envisioned for breaching enemy fortifications. Among the prototypes put forward was the SG-122, an assault gun that married the 122mm M30 howitzer with the chassis of the German Sturmgeschütz III that the Red Army commanders were so keen to emulate. However, despite the initial enthusiasm, the SG-122's journey was cut short as maintenance challenges surfaced. Only 20 units were completed before the project was abandoned. At the same time as the development of the SG-122 project, work was also underway on a new self-propelled gun, or SPG, built upon the robust chassis of the renowned T-34, the medium tank which had been carving out a tenacious reputation for itself in the fight to hold off the German invaders since the start of the war. The brainchild of designers N.W. Kurin and G.F. Kosunin of the Uralsky Machine Building Factory, or UZTM, this innovative machine was dubbed the U-34. Conceived during the summer of 1942, this turretless version of the T-34 had the same powerful 76.2mm F-34 gun, but was 27.5 inches lower and over 2 tons lighter, as well as boasting enhanced armor, promising a stealthier, more agile, and more robust combatant. While the U-34 would never reach the production phase, when combined with ideas from the SG-122, it would provide UZTM with the basis of a new vehicle. Also based on the T-34 chassis, their latest creation would incorporate the cutting-edge M30S howitzer, a variation of the M30 recently developed by Motovelika Plant's design bureau that could arc from -3 degrees to 26 degrees and swivel 10 degrees, offering a broad spectrum of engagement. With a 493 horsepower Klimov Model V2 V12 engine, this new SPG, christened U-35, would weigh 34 tons, be shielded by 45mm of frontal armor, and be manned by a crew of 5, a driver, gunner, commander, and 2 loaders. By using the SG-122's gun bed cover and mountains, UZTM was able to reduce costs and avoid overcomplicating production. With the first prototype of the U-35 emerging from the design bureau on November 25, 1942, trials could begin. From November 30th to December 19th, it underwent rigorous testing, a process that laid bare a series of design flaws, exposing challenges such as limited gun elevation, a problematic shell transfer mechanism, and inadequate ventilation within the crew's quarters. In addition, it posed problems for the vehicle's commander, who would find himself in a demanding role as he was entangled in gun operations, thus hindering his leadership tasks. Despite these hurdles, the U-35 was commissioned into the Red Army as Su-35, and was renamed Su-122 soon afterward. The lessons learned from these initial trials proved valuable, as they allowed for the Su-122 to be modified accordingly before the design was finalized. The front armor's slope was slightly reduced to facilitate production, while a reimagined layout within the fighting compartment offered a more efficient arrangement of crew positions and ammunition storage. The reduction in vision slots and the addition of a periscope for the commander were thoughtful touches that refined the vehicle's operational capabilities. These refined models swiftly transitioned from blueprint to reality, with the first 27 Su-122s rolling off the production line before the end of 1942. By the time production halted in 1943, 638 units had been completed. The first batch of Su-122s was quickly dispatched for use in training facilities and by two brand-new combat units, the 1433rd and 1434th self-propelled artillery regiments. Each unit was mixed and made up of two batteries, equipped with 4 Su-122s apiece, plus 4 additional batteries comprising 4 Su-76 tank destroyers each, with an extra Su-76 designated as the regiment's command vehicle. At the beginning of 1943, the two regiments were mobilized to the Volkhov front near Leningrad, integrating into the 54th Army, and before long, they would find themselves engaging the enemy in combat. A skirmish in the Smyrny region on January 14th would prove to be the first of many, with tactical adjustments implemented as the regiment's experience grew. Based on their battlefield performance, it was eventually decided that the Su-122s should be kept at a distance of 400 to 600 meters behind the frontline tanks, a gap that was occasionally reduced to 200 to 300 meters for more concentrated attacks. Even with this change of strategy, the combined deployment of Su-76 tank destroyers and Su-122s didn't yield the expected success. Reflecting on combat feedback, the structure of the regiments was overhauled to consist of 2 Su-76 batteries and 3 Su-122 batteries, totaling 20 self-propelled guns. By April 1943, another structural revision led to the formation of distinct light self-propelled artillery regiments for Su-76s and medium self-propelled artillery regiments for Su-122s, with the latter consisting of 4 batteries of 4 assault guns each. Commanders were provided with either an additional Su-122 or T-34 tank, and each regiment also had a BA-64 armored car. That summer, operating within this new structure, the Su-122's capabilities would truly be put to the test. After the grueling siege of Stalingrad had ended in a humiliating defeat for the Germans in February 1943, they were determined not to lose their grip on the region. Soon after leaving Stalingrad, they would regain substantial territory at the Third Battle of Kharkov, destroying 3 Soviet armies and forcing 3 more to retreat. By the beginning of July, they were ready to launch Operation Citadel, their next large-scale offensive against Soviet forces in the Kursk salient. Yet the Red Army had already proven its dogged resilience and was ready to give everything it had to fight off the invaders. As row upon row of German Panzer, Panther, Tiger tanks, Elephant tank destroyers, and their famous Sturmgeschütz 3 assault guns began their attack on Kursk, the Soviets countered with their T-34 and KB tanks, and Su-76s, 122s, and 152s. With each side deploying thousands of machines, this epic clash would subject their technology to the ultimate trial by fire. The Su-122s found themselves providing direct fire support against German fortifications, infantry positions, and armored vehicles, utilizing their devastating 122mm M30S howitzers to maximum effect. When a plucky Su-122 was able to take out Captain von Villebois' Tiger, leaving him seriously wounded and the tank utterly destroyed, it was a testament to the assault gun's capabilities. By August 23rd, the Germans were forced to retreat, signaling the end of their last true hope of their invasion ending in success. The Su-122 went on to play a key role in subsequent battles throughout the second half of 1943 and 1944, wreaking further havoc on the German forces in Ukraine, Leningrad, Belarus, and Poland. However, as with many howitzers, the M30's accuracy was inferior to that of many contemporary weapons designed for anti-tank warfare, and as technology continued to progress at a rapid rate, the Su-122 eventually began to be phased out in favor of the more heavily armed Su-152, ISU-122, and ISU-152 heavy self-propelled guns, as well as the Su-85 tank destroyers. Most of the Su-122 units did not survive the war, but one remains proudly on display at the Kubinka Tank Museum near Moscow, serving as enduring evidence of its significant contribution to the defense of the motherland from Nazi invasion.